Well, hello there and welcome to Travels with Geordie. If this is your first visit, my name is Peter Knowles and I live on this classic Ed Monk designed wooden motor cruiser here in Victoria, British Columbia, along with the loving memory of my pup Geordie, all while fixing it up for some pretty ambitious cruising someday. If that's the sort of thing you might find interesting, please consider sticking around and subscribing. I'd love to have you. Well, I've just spent a couple of hours crawling through the boat again to finish weaving the soaker lines through the entire perimeter of the hull. I'd only had it on the starboard side before. So you can see various little droplets here and there. Well, this is where the boat would leak if I was put in the water. Some are more significant than others. Of course, disregard the garboard because of course it's not caulked yet. But all of these, I hope, will swell up before I splash. In fact, I'm kind of hoping I can get to the point where the bilge pump is running, but we'll see about that because right now it's pretty much raining. Now, the neat thing about it is that as long as this all swells up, it's not a problem at all. For instance, there's no way I'm putting 4,000 gallons an hour, did I actually say minute once? Anyway, into the boat right now with the soaker hoses. So in theory, even now, I could be launched and the pumps would catch up. But it's not a comfortable thing to be slowly sinking. And I think it would just be easier on everyone concerned, but I mean by that is me, if I wasn't taking on a ton of water when I splashed. Okay, you know, I think I'm gonna have to put the motor in because it's the next major thing and I'm still waiting for the yellow cedar to be dressed. I think I can install the planks with the motor already in. I don't see why I can't. And to keep my little plastic ventilation strips in place, some pop rivets. Beauty. No way that's ever going to touch the tank. And for the side thrust blocks, heavily countersunk in here, and we'll just put these basically here. There we go. So we have the port side engine bed ready to accept the tank. Starboard side is all done and the plastic is attached. The plastic ventilation strips is attached to that support stringer. So as I mentioned, I might try to manhandle this tank in. I don't think I will. I think I'll wait for some help. It's gonna be time to put the motor in soon. There's some complications around that, as you can imagine. Okay, so as I alluded, I gotta put the engine in. Mainly because it's taking a little longer to dress that cedar than I thought, and I don't have much else to do. But there's also a lot of steps that rely on it that are going to keep me busy this week. Certainly that's setting the tanks properly, setting the battery trays. There's just a lot to be done after the engine goes in, and I don't think it's going to be a problem replacing the garboard planks while the engine is in place. I really don't. So it's a little more complicated this time. Normally I sit the gantry on the engine beds, but I can't this time for a couple of reasons. One is because my aluminum angles are now too close to the support for the engine, so that doesn't work out. The other thing is, because all the floors are new, I don't know where the engine beds bolt. I mean, you can see holes in them that were bolted into the old floors, but I can't just randomly bolt these engine beds to the new floors because they're accurately indexed to the engine and I don't want to have too much trouble with alignment with the prop shaft. So what I'm going to do is drop the engine onto the engine beds. Engine beds are loose, and then begin the process of realigning the prop shaft by shifting the engine and the beds around, floating around on top of the new floors, which should be relatively easy. It gets a little more complicated than that because as soon as I have the weight off these side pieces, I have to be able to remove these struts so that I can put the engine beds over far enough so that the engine mounts will line up with, I think you know where I'm going with all this. Anyway, so ready to build the railway, connect things up, and get started with this. I didn't show you building all this because how many times have you watched me build a bloody engine gantry? I'm hoping this is the very last time. Doesn't help that it's gotten incredibly hot again. Okay, so here we go. The railway is built. The windlass is on. The safety line is on. everything is perfect, right? Right. So there's nothing left to do but release the restraining rope that has kept it from rolling out these last several weeks. Gosh, this is cool. So just to be responsible, I'm going to take up the slack. Now, of course, I could pull on this and it would pull it across, but I don't want to put any off-center loads on my gantry because it's not really designed for that. Rollers and a little more rolling. Oh, I have a miscalculation. Well, I'll just have to deal with that. Solved. Well, this, I think I can probably start to just keep the tension on this. Let's tighten up the safety line. Okay. Okay, of course we have the same problem here, so I'll deal with that one as well. Okay. Alright, well the engine is now largely over the hole. So if I just take some tension on this and lift it up, there we go. Broke. Time to reverse gears here. So now it's just about shoving it around to be able to get the bolts in. Okay, so all the bolts are engaged. Now I can just set it down on the bed. Happily, I was able to pull the propeller shaft out a little bit so that it's not in the way while we get everything lined up, and then we can just mate them together and see how well that works out. And that's 8. Holy moly! That's tough work when it's hot. Okay, so now the engine and the engine beds are one unit that isn't attached to the boat. So I can take some tension up on the hoist and glide it around and line up the propeller shaft the best I can, and then get the feeler gauges in there and then kick it around, bump it here and there until it's sweet again. You don't need to watch this. All right, it's in. Holy mackerel. I'm awfully glad to be able to say that, and I'm really hoping that I don't have to take it out again for any reason. I can't see why that would happen. Well folks, it's done. The engine is back in. It is perfectly aligned. I'm thrilled. And the engine beds are bolted back down. Not all the bolts, but they're enough that nothing's gonna move. Everything is locked in place. Really, really pleased. Yeah, hope that hill cedar is ready tomorrow because, well, I can make battery boxes. There's, oh heck, there's lots to do, lots to do. Anyway, good night. Well, good morning. As I mentioned, the problem with the square peg in the round hole is all the test fitting. So I've devised a system where I can haul this in and out of here, but it's certainly not easy. Anyway, up and out again. Oh yeah. There we go. That's a workout. Okay, small bit of trimming to be done down here. Alright then, so after several trowel fits, the starboard tank is perfectly supported, perfectly solid. I'm loving it. Now of course it's going to need blocks at the ends to keep it from sliding fore and aft, and it's going to need to be strapped down. But those I can do once it's in place. So let's do all that same misery for the port side tank. This is a long rolling bevel. It's actually easier to just trowel fit it after the initial measurement. So I made up this jig which represents the top of the tank and takes account into the black plastic that isn't here yet. So I can set it in here, and I can see I have to make a small adjustment to the angle that it's sitting on, but it's easier to do that all on one plane rather than in the bowl. Once that's good, I like to leave that where it is. Okay, easy, easy, easy. Okay, now I've got a project. This fuel tank is in the cockpit. Okay, let's get a strap on it. Okay, first trial fit. Well, I made a series of heavy blocks out of the high density molecular weight plastic, and these will bolt to the aluminum, quarter-inch aluminum angle. So that's very, very stout, and that's all we'll need to keep these from moving. I'll also put some at the top. I'll show you in a minute. So let's just get at least one of these on. Okay, I believe the obligatory term is, that's not going anywhere. Now I should say I considered actually making a little notch in the ends of these so that they would hook over the extension of the plate, and that would provide my tie down. And it seemed very elegant, but I didn't feel good about it. One, I can't really see, I can't check on it, I can't tell what it's doing. I didn't want to be too much enclosing the aluminum for the possibility of corrosion problems. It's right at the weld, it's right in a place that it's really, really sensitive. I want to have straps over the top. It's something that I can check easily, I can check the tension on, and it seemed elegant, but I just didn't feel good about it. Anyway, so that's how that worked out. It would, no. Okay, this is anything but elegant, but this will work as a tank hold down at least until I can come up with something a little more elegant. And it does mean it's something that I can monitor relatively easily. Excellent. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Now, to be fair, it's not quite as simple as it might look. That's because of that. Somewhere there. And there. Okay. Beauty. Now that hole appears to be quite a bit larger than we need, and that's because the hose on here is quite a bit wider than the actual fitting. Excellent, that worked out great. And before we carry on too far, a quick look at my hot water heater, which has decided to pack it in. Very annoying. No juice, even though the breaker's on. Mysterious. Continuity in the element. We have continuity in the thermostat. And how about the overheat safety switch? Continuity in the overheat switch. Then why aren't you working? Okay, breaker's back on. Let's try this again. Now I have juice. Are we drawing current? Lovely. 11 amps. I don't know why it didn't work before. Maybe the thermal safety switch had to reset or something. It's kind of, I don't know how they work inside.
Okay, and as we consult the bulkhead of reality, not too bad. I have installed the tanks. I have installed the engine. I'm not going to do the fuel system here at Haulout. I'm going to carry on with my jerry can system because it's basically all set. I just have to stick the hoses back in the jerry can, and that'll take me the very short steam to where I'm going to moor up for the next couple of days after I launch, and I'll do that work there. I've had to install the battery and battery trays, battery boxes to the list. However, I'm not going to do all the wiring for it yet. I will only be using the main start battery to get me up to the mooring field. So that's not a big task, and I got started on it yesterday. The big thing for today, install the garboard planks. Let's get on with that.